A historic night for South Korean cinema. Parasite becomes the first non-English language film to win the Oscar for Best Picture. The man behind the camera, Bong Joon-ho, wins Best Director. In total, the film takes home 4 Oscars. Over 1,000 reported deaths in China. The Chinese authorities now say 1,016 people have died from the coronavirus. The number of confirmed cases more than 42,600. The death toll is up by more than 100 in just one day. Plus, evacuation number 3. South Korea is set to send a third chartered plane to bring South Koreans and their Chinese family members back from the coronavirus-hit city of Wuhan. Once home, they'll go into quarantine for 2 weeks.
Parasite.
Bong Joon-ho.
Bong Joon-ho.
Thank you. I will drink until next morning. Thank you.
So, as we could see there, the power of Parasite has written South Korean cinema into their history books. Bong Joon-ho's black comedy won 4 Oscars at the 92nd Academy Awards in Los Angeles on Sunday local time. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Original Screenplay and International Feature Film. Parasite also became the first non-English language film to win the big one, Best Picture. Kang Hyung-woo starts us off.
Parasite.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. That's how many Oscars Parasite won at the 92nd Academy Awards. Bong Joon-ho's black comedy became not only the first South Korean film to win an Oscar, but also the first ever non-English language film to win the top prize, Best Picture. Parasite also took home 3 more trophies: Best Director, Best International Feature Film, and Best Original Screenplay. Upon receiving Best Director honor, Bong talked about his fellow nominee Martin Scorsese and how the American director's quote, "the most personal is the most creative," was deeply carved into Bong's heart when he was studying cinema.
When I was in school, I studied Martin Scorsese's films. Simply being nominated in the same category with him was a huge honor. I never thought I would win.
As many expected, Parasite claimed the Best International Feature Film trophy at the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles on Sunday local time. The Parasite crew did not have to wait long to celebrate, as the film took home the Best Original Screenplay honor in the earlier stages of the awards ceremony. Bong's black comedy became the first Asian film to win the category. Co-writer Han Jin-won said he'd like to share the honor with all the filmmakers and storytellers in Chungmuro, which he described as South Korea's Hollywood. Parasite was also nominated in the categories of Best Production Design and Best Film Editing, but fell short in both. Kang, Arirang News.
Now, if you've yet to have seen the movie, you might be wondering what secret lies behind Parasite's global popularity and acclaim. It's undoubtedly a fine film, but critics say the way Parasite explored the global issue of inequality through aspects of life in South Korea helped audiences relate to the movie regardless of where they live in the world. Lee Kyung-eun reports.
The haves and the have-nots is a frequent theme in movies. But Parasite has a rather fresh approach, setting itself apart from the other movies with a similar topic. For starters, the South Korean black comedy focuses on the coexistence of the rich and the poor, rather than just the clashes between them.
Typically, movies about inequality villainize one particular side, telling a story that hates and attacks the other side. But Parasite shows both sides of the argument, and thus a more comprehensive view on the matter.
It also used a variety of local features, which acted as tools to make the story more compelling to global audiences. One of them is semi-basement, which was used as a symbol of the poor. Semi-basements are a living space that is unique to South Korea, like how tiny cage apartments are found in Hong Kong. That's why director Bong Joon-ho had previously said he couldn't find an exact English substitute for it. The movie also introduces ramdong, a combination of the 2 types of instant noodles in South Korea, ramyeon and udon, topped with beef. All these are distinct aspects of Korean life, but director Bong kept them relatable for a global audience, using visualization to help them digest the movie.
The production design very clearly mirrors the themes that director Bong is trying to get across. So you have this semi-basement, and it's even if you aren't, as a viewer, aren't familiar with that kind of a location, it's so clearly visually demonstrated that the meaning is quite clear. The idea of these kind of cheap noodles mixed with very expensive meat, that is can be understood by anyone. So.
Experts also point to changing global trends, like the rising popularity of K-culture, as another reason for the movie's global success.
The huge exposure that the world has now had to Korean culture through the success of BTS, which has been really, truly phenomenal, has made people more receptive to being able to enjoy foreign cultures, not be so skeptical of it.
By successfully using aspects of local Korean life to send a global message on inequality, Parasite suggests a new paradigm of globalization in the movie industry. 이경은, Arirang News.
The quadruple Oscar haul topped off an amazing 12 months or so for the makers of Parasite, and gradually the film began turning heads as it started racking up win after win at different award shows around the world. Our Park Hee-jun takes a look at how the international media reacted to Parasite's Oscar success.
South Korean film Parasite, winning Best Picture at this year's Oscars, has made headlines all around the world. CNN wrote that Parasite made history at the Academy Awards. It said the victory was a surprising outcome, but not a shocking one considering the praise that the industry and critics have poured on the film. The New York Times said 92 years of Oscar history was shattered on Sunday night, and AP called it a win for the world. Time magazine wrote an in-depth piece on Parasite's success, noting the quality of various aspects of the movie, including its theme. With the subtitle barrier appearing to have been broken, the magazine forecasts that the Oscar win could prove to be a pivotal turning point for foreign language films. The Guardian, meanwhile, sees the victory as an even bigger opportunity for the Oscars themselves. It expects it to help internationalize the awards, opening the door for more non-American films. And that, the article says, could help keep the Oscars relevant, following criticism over the award show's lack of diversity. The film's victory has also been celebrated by social media users worldwide. Users including famous celebrities took to Twitter, Facebook, and South Korea's online platform Naver to congratulate the movie. The news also dominated online searches in not only Korea, but in other countries like Japan and China. Park Hee-jun, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea's third chartered flight to the coronavirus hit city of Wuhan will depart Incheon International Airport tonight at 8:45 p.m. local time to bring back some 150 South Korean nationals stuck in that city. This time, South Koreans living in Wuhan will be joined by their Chinese family as well. The Chinese government did not allow Chinese citizens to get on the two previous planes chartered by South Korea, but Beijing changed its policy last Wednesday. Once home, the group will be quarantined for 2 weeks. However, after tonight's flight, there will still be some 100 South Korean nationals left in Wuhan. They are reportedly reluctant to leave the city due to work or family matters. The South Korean government is considering sending additional chartered flights to get them, depending on how this outbreak unfolds. Meanwhile, in some news just coming in, South Korea is reporting one more case of the coronavirus, a Chinese man in his 30s. This brings the total number of cases here in South Korea to 28. The death toll from the novel coronavirus in China now stands at over 1,000 for the first time since China's Health Commission began releasing its reported number of deaths. The country saw over 100 deaths in a single 24-hour period on Monday. At 108, the number of infected patients also surpassed 42,000, with some 2,000 cases added in Hubei province alone. Meanwhile, Chinese President Xi Jinping made his first public appearance since the start of the outbreak on Monday, wearing a protective face mask. As you can see, the Chinese leader toured a specially built center in Beijing to inspect efforts to contain the virus. South Korea has temporarily banned cruise ships from its ports amid mounting concerns over the coronavirus outbreak. This, as Japanese authorities said on Monday that at least 65 more people on board the Diamond Princess cruise ship, currently in quarantine near Yokohama, have tested positive for the virus, raising the total on that vessel alone to 135. They are testing all 3,600 people on board, starting with those showing symptoms. The vessel was put under quarantine after a passenger who disembarked in Hong Kong was found to have contracted the coronavirus. The World Health Organization has expressed concerns about the latest coronavirus cases confirmed in Europe that were transmitted without any travel history to China. Lee Seung-jae with the details.
Earlier this week, 5 British citizens were confirmed to have contracted the novel coronavirus after visiting a French alpine town from another British national who was confirmed to have the virus after returning from a conference in Singapore. None of the patients had any history of traveling to China, yet they still fell ill. According to the head of the World Health Organization, new cases like these could signal the start of a wider spread of the coronavirus.
In recent days, we have seen some concerning instances of onward transmission from people with no travel history to China, like the cases reported in France yesterday and the United Kingdom today. The detection of this small number of cases could be the spark that becomes a bigger fire. But for now, it's only a spark. Our objective remains containment.
His comments come as an advanced WHO team of medical experts arrived in China on Monday to investigate the outbreak. The WHO chief says the team will work with their Chinese counterparts to contain the spread of the virus. Last month, the head of the WHO visited Beijing for talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping and agreed to send an international mission to help curb the outbreak. However, it took the Chinese government nearly 2 weeks to approve the team's trip. Meanwhile, a new study has revealed the incubation period of the novel coronavirus could be as long as 24 days. While initial studies revealed a 14-day incubation period, data collected on over 1,000 patients showed the average incubation period was 3 days and could range from 0 to 24 days. Despite the latest findings, the WHO says it's not considering changing the recommended quarantine time of 2 weeks. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, in other news, a new report says it's unlikely US President Donald Trump will hold a third summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un before the US presidential election in early November. Citing 2 sources, CNN reported on Monday that President Trump made his feelings clear during a recent meeting with his foreign policy advisors. CNN says President Trump is focusing on his re-election campaign and his interest in engaging with Kim has somewhat waned after months of failed diplomatic efforts to reach out to the regime. It added Trump's re-election campaign believes North Korea is not a critical issue to American voters, pointing out that President Trump did not mention North Korea at all during his recent State of the Union address. The co-founder of the Quantum Fund and the chairman of Rogers Holdings, Jim Rogers, is in South Korea, guest speaking at the Pyeongchang Peace Forum 2020. That's taking place in South Korea's Gangwon-do province. Our Hong Yu had the chance to sit down with him to talk about the potential of investing in Korea if the North and South agree to one day reunify.
Speakers at the Pyeongchang Peace Forum 2020 got together last Saturday, a day ahead of the forum, to take a look around the demilitarized zone in Gangwon-do province. World-renowned investor Jim Rogers, who joined the tour, said it reminded him of his first visit to the DMZ in North Korea.
My first visit to the North Korea. And I thought, oh, because this is a pretty big waste. What are all these kids doing? You know, they were all sitting there ready to kill the guys, the kids on the other side. It was austere, there wasn't much there. Then I went to the DMZ on the South Korean side, and my main impression was, what a waste. You know, why don't they just tear this down and let's have a K-pop concert?
Rogers, who held a session at the forum on creating the new Korean economy, said the Korean peninsula will be the most interesting place in the world to invest in when the 38th parallel opens.
But when something's a disaster, it's cheap, and in North Korea there are lots of natural resources. There are lots of educated, disciplined labor, educated labor. You put that open with South Korea, with its capital and its management ability, its manufacturing ability, on the Chinese border, 80 million people on the Chinese border. This is going to be an extremely exciting place.
But he said that will only be possible when the 38th parallel opens up. Rogers said that when it happens, he's particularly interested in tourism to the Korean peninsula. He believes opening the border would boost tourism in many parts of the peninsula.
Any opening like that is great. It's good for North Korea, it's good for South Korea, it's good for the peninsula eventually. Anything. The way the Berlin Wall fell was things like that started happening. And the next thing you know, there's one Korea. Any opening is good for the world, and is good for Hanwha-do.
Asked about the risk investors could face putting their money into North Korea as the regime's relationship with both South Korea and the U.S. is shaky at best, Rogers said nothing is guaranteed when it comes to investment.
Look at America. America's always changing its mind. So there's risk everywhere. You can invest in America and suddenly have the rug pulled out. It's not just North Korea, everywhere in the world. I would think North Korea is less risky than many places now because they know they need, and if they do something wrong, they're not going to have much of a future.
Rogers said when the two Koreas agreed to open up their border, the Korean peninsula will be the world's hottest investment location for the next 10 to 20 years. 홍유, Arirang News.
Despite artificial intelligence making our lives more convenient in a whole bunch of ways, many people are understandably concerned AI systems and robotics could end up leaving many people out of work. However, our Oh Se-young takes us to Pittsburgh to show us how the US city's labor market has never been better due to the new technology.
40 years ago, the US city of Pittsburgh was turning into a ghost town. Once a booming hub of the steel industry, the city was seeing factories close and jobs disappear as production drastically declined. Veteran Larry Samar was one of the people who left.
There was a lot of anxiety from people. The steel mills were closing down because they were getting steel cheaper overseas, and the unions were falling apart. So everyone decided, mostly in the late 70s, early 80s, a mass exodus, and they took off from Pittsburgh to live other places.
When he returned a few years back, he was amazed by the transformation. From Steel City to Roboburg, Pittsburgh is now considered the robotics capital of the world. It's home to scores of startups in artificial intelligence, high-profile tech firms like Uber and Amazon, and leading academics at Carnegie Mellon University. Through that robust robotics ecosystem, the latest research is developed, tested, and applied in the market, driving innovation in the region. RE2 is one of the more than 70 tech firms in Pittsburgh, located along the robot belt. The Carnegie Mellon spin-off develops robotic arms for the US military and is expanding into healthcare and other markets.
There aren't a lot of companies that directly overlap with one another, so one company might specialize in sensor technology to support robotics, whereas we focus on manipulation, right? So where we can, we like to kind of collaborate with one another, and we've created this network of the foundational technologies, so you don't have to go real far to find something to make a complete system.
Companies like these are reviving the local economy by adding thousands of jobs every year. According to an annual investment scorecard, a tech sector job has a large multiplier effect, directly and indirectly supporting almost 3 other jobs.
Manufacturing, retail, finance, healthcare, life sciences, all of these areas, we're seeing investments here where they're really part of 2 or 3 different sectors, and they find that intersection here in Pittsburgh. And I think that's what makes our ecosystem a little different than other places, as the technology cuts across all these areas.
Wages are also higher, with tech and robotics employees earning almost double the region's average wage of $53,000 as of 2018. As cities around the world grapple with the loss of traditional jobs, they are looking for ways to reinvent their industrial landscape. And many of them are looking to places like Pittsburgh, where firms are actually creating jobs with robots. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Pittsburgh.
The United States has indicted Chinese military personnel for allegedly hacking into an American company and stealing the personal information of millions of Americans. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Yoon Jung-min. Jung-min, fill us in.
Sure, Mark. The U.S. Department of Justice has charged 4 Chinese military hackers for allegedly breaching an American credit reporting agency. Take a listen to what the U.S. Attorney General had to say on Monday.
I'm here to announce the indictment of Chinese military hackers, specifically 4 members of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, for breaking into the computer systems of the credit reporting agency Equifax, and for stealing the sensitive personal information of nearly half of all American citizens. This was one of the largest data breaches in history.
The Chinese are accused of hacking into the Equifax credit reporting agency in 2017. Barr said the hacking affected nearly 150 million U.S. citizens. He added that the personal information hacked included social security numbers and driver's license data. Turkey revealed on Monday that 5 Turkish soldiers were killed in an attack by Syrian government forces on a military base in Idlib. Turkey's defense ministry says it struck back at Syrian government targets in northwestern Syria. Tensions have been rising in that part of Syria between Syrian government forces and rebel forces since Turkey started deploying thousands of troops to the area. A restaurant in South Africa has grabbed the Guinness World Record for the world's most varieties of milkshakes commercially available. The restaurant in Cape Town has been recognized for over 200 designer milkshakes on their menu. It provides exotic combinations like Nutella and mascarpone or Oreo cheesecake. Fat-free, vegan, or adults-only alcoholic options are also available, while the drinks are garnished with a variety of toppings. The restaurant's co-owner says they initially opened up the restaurant with about 40 kinds of milkshakes, but it became so popular that now they have 207 options to choose from.
Good morning. It's shaping up to be the mildest day of the season today for many parts of the country. It's actually going to feel more like late March than mid-February, with temperatures expected to hover way above the season norms, nearly 10 degrees higher than yesterday for here in the capital. However, it's another day where a face mask is a must. It's those bad dust levels we need to watch out for. Again, more polluted air for us in western regions. So despite the mild temperatures and sunny skies, be sure to wear a face mask if you head out for lunch this afternoon. Jeju is expected to see rain from this evening, and showers will spread to most areas by tomorrow. And of course, the further south you are, the more precipitation you'll see, but the wet weather will help clear away the dust and relieve the dryness in the air. Seoul will also see rain all day on Wednesday, while temperatures will keep fluctuating, so don't put away your thick jackets just yet. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for views around the world.
Well, that's all the news and weather we have for now on this Tuesday morning here in Seoul, South Korea. Stay tuned to Arirang TV. And my daily reminder that our next newscast is coming up at noon Korea time. We'll have more information about that additional case of the coronavirus that's just been confirmed here in South Korea, bringing the total to 28. But until then, goodbye.
The novel coronaviruses are spreading all over the world. To prevent the virus from spreading further, it's essential to attend to personal hygiene and take preventive measures. Rule number 1 for preventing the infection. Wash your hands thoroughly in running water with soap for at least